Hello, John.
Yeah, hello, Oliver.
And so today I was in Dublin city centre and I was walking down by the boardwalk. So it's the quays just beside O'Connell Street. There's a boardwalk there, okay, to the left as you're heading towards the Heineken building. Um, but I was followed by a young man. First of all, when I was passing him, he eyed me up, and I think he thought that I was filming him. I had my hand down by my side, swinging with my phone in my hand. He himself and his friend followed me for about 50 meters, and they were saying to me that was I filming them? You see, so this was threatening
Yeah,
behavior, and they were wearing. One of them was wearing a balaclava with the center cut out, a hole cut out. So the foreign national, okay, and so I had to stand my ground. I was afraid in case I get a punch into the head from the back, so I had to stand my ground and tell them, listen, get out of my face because I'm not filming anybody. I'm just walking down here. But anyway, the problem with Dublin City is the crime is up. The crime is up all over Ireland. In the second quarter of 2023, okay, homicide and released offence and related offences were up 21%, 31%. Theft is up 25%, robbery is up 21%, fraud and deception is down, which is a good thing, by 37%, which is quite big. But you can see there the theft is up, robbery is up, homicide and related offences are up. I did go to the Gardai when this happened. As soon as I got into O'Connell Street, I turned backwards. I went to O'Connell Street to find a guard, and I spoke to a member of the Gardai, and he said to me that he says, unfortunately, we have no Gardaí. He says, I'm up. He says, from the country. I've been drafted in here for a few days, me and my colleague. And he says, you'll be lucky to find another guard or two between here and Grafton Street. We just don't have the numbers, he says. So crime is all over the city. It's clearly visible, okay? And the problem is there's gangs of young men everywhere, and they're not Irish, okay? So everywhere you go, and you're seeing 6 to 8 group members hanging around corners. They're hanging around coffee shops. There, there's loads of groups of gangs of men all over Dublin City, and you just don't feel safe.
right. Well, no, your experience was fairly severe. Unfortunately, I have enough experience of life to be able to deal with it because you could have been, depending on what way you acted, you could have been seriously injured. And the chances are that individual had a knife. I think you said his hand in his pocket.
That's right.
Now, just to ask you this, what time of the day was it when that event occurred?
You're talking about 3 o'clock in the day.
So, in other words, it was at a normal time when you wouldn't be expecting criminals to be operating. You'd imagine they'd be sort of in the dark, sort of thing, at night time, and so that people can't even identify them or that. But this is in the middle of the day,
This is the middle
walking on
of
this boardwalk, which
you.
which is beside the Liffey,
Yeah,
and you were fortunate that you felt you were followed, and then you turned around and dealt with the situation in such a way as they had to back off
that's right.
because you weren't going to be just a sitting duck for the league of them, but you're fairly strong and able to deal with it. Can you imagine if it was a lady, for example? She'd be very much at risk, and she would not be advised to walk down there on her own in a fit. We say a normal citizen. But now the fact is that when you met the guard and you got this, what I call lack of action, except to say that there's not enough Gardaí. But the funny thing is, I was in Dublin there a couple of weeks ago only, or maybe even less, and got 46A bus going out to visit my cousin in Stillorgan, Etna, and the hobby. The bus was at a standstill to a certain extent, so I was able to observe all the police that was in the town. And I'm not talking about one or two sort of isolated. I saw maybe 6 or 7 hardy looking individuals. You wouldn't want to cross them. So there was no shortage of police. But regretfully, you spoke to a lad given the impression that criminals is a criminal's paradise
Uh,
because of what he said, the lack of police and all the rest of it. Yet I think there's plenty of police in Dublin, but for some reason or another, they're not out in the street to deal with the robberies. I know this government, and there could have been an election around the corner, has promised about that, because there has been complaints about the criminal activity out as far as the North Strand from O'Connell Street. And most people, including yourself, is aware of these gangs that are not Irish, by and large, and are there, and they've been the city has been inundated with all these. Courtesy of the Fine Gael Labour government and Green Party that spent so much time on other issues other than dealing with the problems as is, because the priests and various people that's concerned with the local community have sort of cried out for some police protection. So, like, what are the Gardaí there for? Are they there to protect the citizen? And from the sound of what your experience was, that wasn't the response that you should have got. You should have got not that kind of a idiotic response that wasn't going to deal with what you had experienced, and only for you're a strong enough individual as well, you would have been able to defend yourself, and you would have used your feet, to presume your boots. I hope you had boots on you and give them a kick where it hurts. That's the only way to deal with the like of them and to face them. And you did the right thing that you did. If you're anyway sort of afraid or shivering or this type of thing, you were in trouble. You were in trouble.
This is the
They'd
thing,
nearly rob whatever you.
so what they're doing basically is it's they have a patch there, and that's their drug dealing patch. I think they're probably going at everybody every day, so that they're intimidating people as they pass, and knowing then that that's their little patch for their drug dealing. Nobody can go into that
Right.
neighborhood. That's their own little neighborhood basically for drug dealing, and for illegal activities. And anybody who comes in there, I probably gets the same treatment as me. The thing is, this person is wearing what looks like a balaclava with a hole cut out for the face. Nobody should be allowed in the city with that kind of headgear on.
No. No, whether he has it and then puts it on when he's going to intimidate somebody, because it does intimidate them. But the trouble is, I presume the Gardaí bar they're asleep, but should have been aware of that. I mean, have they got detectives or have they got anything to deal with these issues? I know from what I hear and what I hear expressed is that it's kind of Dublin, which was a lovely city, a safe city, because there was plenty of police about years back, and now when they're needed, they're not there, and we have this business of people that are not Irish able to gather in groups and protect whatever it is they're taught. And this is on O'Connell Street, the main street of the city, and you only met one guard. There should be plenty of police around there, and they should keep that place safe, the same as it was kept for years safe.
I can
There
tell you,
was none of
okay,
that sort of stuff.
I walked Dublin City today for about 3 hours, and in that time, I seen two Gardaí that I met, and I complained about that guy. So I met two Gardaí in O'Connell Street, and then I headed up to the camera centre in Grafton Street. And while
Yeah,
up there, there was a armed Gardaí in an Audi Q7 came through Grafton Street, which is unusual. But they're the only guards I've seen for the entire time for 3 hours.
that's not enough. They won't protect anything, and in actual fact, for safety, you'd want about at least 20, and not just in the one area, to clear the street of these gangs. And if they don't cooperate, and if they show any resistance, have the squad car or the Black Maria, whatever they like to call it, and hump them into it and keep them in overnight or for 24 hours or what have you. These are the sort of powers that they used to have and that they should still have, to be able to detain these people. And this business of the not this business of staying silent should be this it should be against the law to stay silent. They should account for where they're living, their names and addresses taken, so that they could be checked out. Now, that's what the Gardaí are there for, to do, to protect the citizen. And from your experience, there's not enough. And you might be talking to the ward is talking to them because they're not doing nothing about the problem that you experienced. And not just you, but probably anyone walking down that boardwalk, a tourist, for example, he wouldn't have a chance
Not a hope.
because he wouldn't be expect this in this country. But if he gets any advice as a tourist coming to it, the one advice I'd be starting to give him say, steer clear of Dublin. And
This
off
is,
you go down the country, you'll have some chance, but forget about Dublin.
the thing
And as a matter
is
of fact, one thing is there's a lack of tourists because there's not enough accommodation for them.
well, we discussed that in another video interview. But the thing about it
Yeah,
is, what the guard, you were very, very spot on with your figures there. You said there should be 20 Gardaí. The guard has said to me, he says, look, there's four of us trying to cover an area where there should be 16 Gardaí. That's what he said to me.
16, yeah, well, even that's a conservative number. Dublin is the capital city. The Dáil sits there. I presume there's plenty of Gardaí minding them. They want to just look after the citizens.
The
After
thing
all,
is,
the
look,
citizens are paying taxes.
we're going to be covering it in another video. There's too much resources
Right.
put into road traffic. Okay, too many police are involved in road traffic, and we're going to be covering it as we said in a couple last week. We're going to be covering how you actually use the resources within the Gardaí in a much better way, and how you can. They're caught up with road traffic far too much, and we're going to be talking about that in another
Which
video.
is a dead loss. They're concerned. The only business about road traffic they should be watching is for criminals using the roads and attacking people in their isolated homes. That's what they should be doing about that, but not going after ordinary citizens that are not breaking any law except that they're trying to find fault with them, and it's handy to get a summons and money. Deal with the criminal aspects of Dublin, which is out of control in my book. Most people won't go touch it now with a 40-foot pole. Even people that heretofore used to go and do their shopping. There used to be special trains every Thursday up to the Lake of Cleary's and all the stores that was in Dublin from the country, and they were often buying their clothes and that because they were good value. And all that's now gone, of course, that kind of tradition. But people are not coming to it now because they've heard the news about like your experience, and other people have had similar experiences. And people, even in cars, I remember years ago, women driving cars, there was robbers taking their handbags, breaking the window and taking their handbags out with their cars. That was a problem. But I think they dealt with that at the time. So there's a criminal class in Dublin, and unless it's dealt with robustly, it gets worse. And if the absence of Gardaí, it's sure it's a bonanza for them, isn't it?
It is. So, I mean, there's three things they could do anyway. One is introduce or police the Loitering Act. Okay, that's one thing. Stop gangs gathering. They shouldn't be gangs shouldn't be allowed to gather on corners, okay, and hang around for an hour or 2 or 3 hours, whatever, or all day actually, okay. So, you also maybe stop people wearing headgear which conceals their face. This shouldn't be allowed in any city. I mean, if you
Of
have
course.
guys going around and they're allowed dress with balaclavas in their head in the middle of a city, there's something wrong, you know?
You see, what's wrong is there's not enough guard of a presence and dealing with it. There's no point in them sort of gawking at the wall or something. Deal with the facts that's there. The criminal, it's gone out of control.
So
And
it,
this Fine Gael Labour, not Labour, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Green Party government, instead of acting the card and other issues, deal with the problems in the city for goodness sake. What are they there? What's that government there for? Are they there to govern for the safety of citizens in Dublin, which is the capital city? Get
yeah,
on with the job
the
and have enough police there and stop giving excuses.
the other thing I would say as well is like, I mean, if you look at the Bachelor's Walk side of the boardwalk, so Bachelor's Walk and the Keys there, you'll see there's a little coffee shop, and that's actually a good thing. The coffee shop stops these gangs coming around, you know, because that's a little business that'll protect itself and will inform the Gardaí every time there's trouble. So they stay away from that, but they go to the other side of the city, across the Bridge, O'Collin Bridge, okay, down near the Bus Áras side, and the Customs House Quay, and
Yeah, a
that's
lot of
where,
people are using that going on the bus,
yeah,
visiting relatives and friends. So they're at risk.
they are
They
indeed.
nearly want to get a taxi to the bus station.
The other
for
thing,
safety.
the other thing I'll be saying as well, and we will be covering it in our next video about artists, is that when you have buskers and artists on a street, people feel safer.
You do.
When I go down Grafton Street, I feel safe. If I go down Temple, Grafton Street's full of buskers. If I go down Talbot Street, I don't feel safe. There's no buskers. You see? Buskers are a good
Correct.
kind of barometer of what a street is about, and you will feel safe on
Weaver
Grafton
Street
Street.
is a dangerous street now. I think from the point of view of citizens, I wouldn't say you might. Did you ever see a guard in Talbot Street, or not just a guard? A few of them, four or
No,
five.
the answer is there's no Gardaí in the city centre.
Well, that's a derelict of duty, and this Minister for Justice, whoever is Helen McEntee. Like, what is she doing about this issue? Have they any influence with this Garda commissioner? What's he there for? Does he not know how to defend the city? Is Belfast as badly policed as Dublin? Belfast, I think there's plenty of police about,
Hmm.
so there's safety. But here in Dublin, it's quite the reverse.
I mean, like
So I
they,
think we'd want to complain and complain very strongly to the authorities for this neglect of duty.
I think the
So you were lucky to survive your experience there, and but you dealt with it in the proper way. You faced them, and that's the way to do it. And just let them know that you were going to continue, and they better just watch where they're at.
This is it. So hopefully they're
You
watching
know,
this and things
you
will
really
improve.
want to have some implement in your own pocket.
Well, I
Well, I
don't.
hope that this people that's in the Gardai, that's in charge, what are they up to? They know what about the responsibility that they have for the safety of citizens in Dublin,
That's it.
because we know that the complaints that citizens have made about the lack of protection, that's not good enough. So I hope that what we have to say about it is heard. And by the way, when the Christian TV Ireland project gets going and is established as a TV station, we won't be slow about that. We'll be talking to citizens in Dublin and people that have experienced the sort of problems that you nearly experienced there today. Other ones might have had worse experiences. So we'll deal with that. So we will.
We will indeed. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you very much, Adam.